Would you like to have dinner with us? A maid asks a lonely millionaire on Christmas. Hello, everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to our main character. Snow drifts softly outside a sprawling mansion on the edge of New York, blanketing the long driveway and muffling the city's distant hum. Inside, every corner glows with golden light, yet the house feels hollow, echoing with silence. At the head of a 12-seat dining table sits Richard Hale, a man once known for his empire in real estate, now better known for his solitude. The clock on the marble wall strikes 9, and he lifts his glass of red wine to no one. The other half of the table remains untouched, a single plate, a folded napkin, and beside it, a silver candle holder with one wick unlit. He stares at it for a long moment, his jaw tight. He hasn't lit that second candle since the Christmas his wife passed away 3 years ago. Somewhere deeper in the house, a faint clatter of dishes breaks the stillness. Down in the kitchen, Clara Evans adjusts the sleeves of her worn uniform, her fingers red from washing dishes in cold water. She's new to the Hale residence, hired only 2 months ago through an agency that didn't bother telling her she'd be working for a man who hadn't smiled in years. Her co-workers left early for their families. The head butler said Mr. Hale preferred solitude on holidays, then disappeared into the snow. Clara should have gone home too, but her paycheck covered her mother's medical bills, so here she is, alone in a house full of chandeliers. She finishes scrubbing the last pan, wipes her hands on a towel, and glances toward the dining hall through the glass door. There, beyond the flickering light of the fireplace, she sees him, the lonely millionaire, sitting perfectly still, staring into nothing. For a moment she hesitates, then takes a shaky breath. Maybe it's foolish, maybe it'll get her fired. But something about the image, a man surrounded by luxury, yet completely alone, tightens her chest. She steps forward, heart thudding softly against her ribs, and walks toward the hall. Her shoes tap quietly on the marble floor, each sound swallowed by the vastness of the room. "Sir?" she says gently. Richard looks up, his expression startled, as if he hasn't heard another voice in hours. Clara's voice trembles a little. "Would you like to have dinner with us?" His brows lift slightly. "Us?" he repeats, glancing around the empty hall. She smiles awkwardly. "Well, just me, actually. The others went home." For a second, silence stretches between them. The fire crackles. Outside, the wind moans against the window pane. Then, to her surprise, the corners of his lips twitch the faintest ghost of a smile. He sets down his wine glass and leans back in his chair. "It's been a long time since anyone asked me to dinner," he murmurs. Clara's cheeks warm, but she nods toward the kitchen. There's stew on the stove. It's nothing fancy, but it's hot. He studies her for a long moment, his gray eyes unreadable, then rises slowly from the chair. "Lead the way." She exhales in relief and turns, guiding him down the corridor. The kitchen feels smaller now, almost cozy, with its string of flickering lights and the faint scent of cinnamon and broth. Clara pours 2 bowls of stew and places them on the counter, avoiding his gaze. Richard looks around, surprised. It's the first time he's stepped into this part of the house in years. No polished silver, no crystal glasses, just chipped bowls, wooden spoons, and a woman brave enough to talk to him like a person instead of a boss. As he sits, Clara hesitates again, unsure if she's overstepped. Then he gestures toward the seat across from him. "You invited me," he says quietly. "Don't make me eat alone now." She blushes and sits. The first spoonful of stew is simple, warm, alive. The silence between them isn't awkward, it's soft, like snow landing on glass. For the first time in years, Richard doesn't feel the cold pressing at his chest. And for the first time tonight, Clara forgets the long hours, the calluses, the worry about rent. Neither of them knows it yet, but that small invitation, the courage to ask a lonely man to share a meal, will change both of their lives forever. The next morning, soft winter light seeps through the tall windows of the mansion. Clara stands in the kitchen, hands wrapped around a mug of coffee, still replaying last night in her mind. It feels unreal, the image of Mr. Hale sitting at the small kitchen table, spooning stew like an ordinary man, smiling faintly at her awkward jokes. She had not meant to break any rules. She only wanted to share a meal, yet somehow it had changed everything. Upstairs, Richard wakes to the smell of coffee, and the faint hum of a radio that someone has left on low. For the first time in years, he does not feel that heavy pull of emptiness that usually greets him each morning. He walks into his study and sees something that stops him in his tracks. On his desk, someone has left a small handmade card. It is a little crooked, cut from recycled cardboard with hand-drawn holly leaves in green ink. In the middle, it reads, "No one deserves to eat alone. Merry Christmas." His hand lingers on it, and he cannot help but smile. Later that day, Clara is polishing the banister when she hears slow footsteps behind her. "Did you leave this?" he asks, holding the card gently. Her heart jumps. "Yes, sir. I am sorry if I overstepped. I just thought—" He shakes his head. "Do not apologize. It has been a long time since someone wished me a Merry Christmas." The quiet warmth in his tone makes her chest tighten. After that day, something subtle shifts in the house. Richard begins taking his breakfast downstairs again. He stops working late into the night and sometimes walks into the kitchen just to ask how her mother is doing. Clara tells him her mother is getting better, thanks to the medication she can finally afford. Richard listens, nodding thoughtfully. "Your mother must be proud of you," he says. She shrugs, embarrassed. "She thinks I work for a kind man." He lets out a soft laugh, the sound rusty but real. The days pass gently into the new year. The mansion feels less like a museum and more like a home. One evening, as snow falls outside, Clara notices the study lights still on long after midnight. She brings him a cup of tea and finds him sitting in front of a half-finished charcoal sketch of a woman. "She is beautiful," Clara says softly. He looks up, startled, then down at the drawing. "She was my wife. I have tried to finish this for 3 years. His voice trails off, heavy with something between guilt and longing. Clara steps closer, her eyes tracing the soft lines of the sketch. "Maybe she would want you to start a new one," she says gently. He looks at her, as if the thought has never occurred to him. That night, after she leaves, he sits in silence for a long time before reaching for a new sheet of paper. Days later, Clara walks into the study and freezes. On the desk lies a new drawing her, standing by the kitchen window, sunlight spilling across her face. She does not know what to say. Richard clears his throat awkwardly. "You brought life back into this house, Clara. I wanted to capture that." Before she can answer, he winces, suddenly, pressing a hand to his chest. "Sir?" she gasps, rushing forward as he slumps slightly in the chair. Without thinking, she grabs the phone, calling for help, her voice shaking. Minutes blur into sirens, flashing lights, and the cold sting of panic. When the ambulance doors close, she squeezes his hand. "You will be fine, Mr. Hale. Just hold on." His eyes flutter open for a moment, faint but steady. "Do not call me sir," he whispers weakly. "Just Richard." She nods, tears blurring her vision as the doors shut. The ride to the hospital feels endless. Snow falls harder now, coating the city streets in white silence. She sits outside the emergency room, hands clasped, praying quietly for a man who only yesterday felt untouchable. Hours later, the doctor steps out, his tone calm. "He is stable. You did the right thing calling us immediately. You may see him soon." Relief floods her chest, and she exhales shakily. When she finally steps into the hospital room, Richard lies pale but breathing, monitors beeping steadily beside him. His eyes open slowly, finding her face. "I told you," he murmurs, voice raspy. "It has been a long time since anyone invited me to dinner. Maybe that was the best gift I have ever received." Clara smiles through her tears, her hand still clutching his. She whispers, "Then I am glad I asked." Outside, the snow keeps falling, quiet and endless, as if the world itself has decided to start over with them. The days following Richard's collapse are a blur of hospital visits, phone calls, and paperwork. Clara barely leaves his side, staying late into the night, watching over him as he recovers slowly, each day a small victory. Despite the quiet hospital room, things feel different. The house feels different. Richard feels different. As his condition stabilizes, they begin to talk more, and Clara learns things about him she never expected. He confides in her about his past, his childhood in a small town, his struggles with a demanding father who never seemed to approve of him, and how he built his empire from nothing. Clara listens intently, feeling a strange connection to him as he shares his burdens. She tells him about her own life, how she grew up in a small town, the difficulties of balancing work and caring for her sick mother, and how she used to dream of becoming a painter before life's harsh realities took over. Richard's eyes light up when she mentions painting. "You never told me you could paint," he says, his voice tinged with curiosity. Clara smiles softly. I gave it up a long time ago. Richard insists that she try again, encouraging her to bring her sketches to the mansion, offering her the space to create. It is a simple gesture, but it speaks volumes to Clara. Over the next few weeks, Richard's health improves steadily, but his loneliness, the void left by his wife's passing, lingers in the corners of the house. Clara notices the emptiness in his eyes, the way he looks at the world like it has no color. She knows that despite his success, he is still searching for something he cannot find. One evening, as she sits by the fireplace in the drawing room, sketching quietly, Richard walks in, his footsteps slow but steady. He watches her for a moment, his gaze soft. "Clara," he says, his voice quiet but firm, "you've done more for me than anyone has in years. You brought something back into this house I thought I lost forever. Not just my health, but my will to live, my will to feel alive again." Clara looks up, her heart pounding in her chest. She does not know what to say. The room is warm, the fire crackling softly, but the weight of his words hangs heavy between them. He sits down next to her, and for a long moment, there is nothing but silence. "I never thanked you," Richard continues, his voice thick with emotion. "I don't know if I ever will be able to, but I want you to know that you have changed everything for me. I don't want to be alone anymore." Clara's breath catches in her throat as his words sink in. She had never expected this, never thought she would be the one to bring him back from the brink. But here she is, standing on the edge of something neither of them fully understands yet. They are two people from different worlds, connected by a shared moment of kindness. "You don't have to thank me," Clara whispers, her voice trembling. "I did what anyone would have done." Richard shakes his head, his expression intense. "No, Clara, not anyone. You did something no one else has ever done. You saw me not just the billionaire, not just the lonely man. You saw me as a person, and that made all the difference." Clara looks into his eyes, and for the first time she sees something different: hope, warmth, a connection that wasn't there before. She can't explain it, but she feels it in her chest, a pull that she knows will change everything. Over the next few months, they grow closer. Clara continues to sketch, but now it's not just the kitchen windows or the old bookshelves. She starts to paint again, bringing her work into the mansion, and Richard becomes her biggest supporter. He encourages her to show her paintings to others, to find a gallery. He even arranges for her to meet an art collector who could help her. But it's not just about art. It's about trust, about understanding each other's pain and finding solace in it. As Clara's confidence in her art grows, so does their bond. One night, as they sit together on the balcony overlooking the city, Richard turns to her, his expression serious. "Clara," he says, his voice soft but sure, "I want you to know something. You have changed my life. And not just because of what you did for me, though I will never forget that, but because you've shown me that life can still be beautiful, even after everything I've lost. I can't imagine my life without you in it." Clara's heart skips a beat as she listens to him. She doesn't know what to say, but somehow she knows what he means. They are two people who have healed each other in ways they never thought possible. And in that moment, she knows that this is only the beginning of something far greater than either of them ever expected. As weeks turn into months, Clara finds herself adjusting to a life she never expected. Richard's presence in the mansion no longer feels like a shadow, it feels like home. She continues to paint, and her work becomes more vibrant, more confident as she opens up to the world around her. Richard remains by her side, always encouraging her to pursue her dreams, and slowly, she begins to see herself not just as a maid or caretaker, but as an artist with a future. One evening, as the sun sets and the last rays of light paint the sky in shades of pink and gold, Richard walks into the drawing room, a rare smile playing on his lips. "Clara," he says softly, "there's something I want to show you." He leads her outside to the garden, where a small crowd has gathered. Clara's heart races with curiosity as she sees a beautiful, well-lit marquee set up on the grass. The air is cool, and the stars are just beginning to appear in the sky. She looks around, her breath catching as she realizes what's happening. "This is," she begins, but Richard interrupts her with a gentle smile. "This is your first art show," he says, his voice filled with pride. Clara's eyes widen in disbelief. My art show?" she whispers. Richard nods. "Yes. You deserve this, Clara. You've worked so hard, and it's time the world sees what you've created." Tears spring to Clara's eyes as she looks around at the paintings she had once kept hidden, now displayed for everyone to see. She had never imagined this moment, never dreamed her art could be appreciated in such a way. "Thank you," she says, her voice shaky. Richard smiles softly, reaching out to take her hand. You don't need to thank me. This is all you. The night passes in a blur of laughter, admiration, and the soft hum of music. Clara feels as though she's living in a dream, surrounded by people who admire her work, who see her as an artist and not just a maid. The warmth of the evening wraps around her, and for the first time in a long time, she feels like she belongs. As the event draws to a close, Clara and Richard stand together, watching the guests leave, the soft glow of the marquee casting a gentle light across the garden. You were right, Clara says quietly. Life can be beautiful, even after everything I've lost. Richard looks at her, his expression tender. And it can be even more beautiful when we allow ourselves to find it again. He pauses for a moment, his gaze softening. Clara, I want to ask you something. Clara turns to face him, her heart pounding in her chest. What is it? She asks. Richard takes a deep breath, then drops to one knee. The world seems to pause as he pulls out a small, simple box from his jacket pocket and opens it to reveal a delicate silver ring. Clara Evans, he begins, his voice steady but filled with emotion. You have brought light back into my life in ways I never thought possible. You have healed parts of me I didn't even know were broken. I don't want to live without you in it. Will you marry me? Clara stands frozen, her breath catching in her throat. She looks at him, seeing not just the lonely millionaire, but the man who has shared his heart with her, who has made her feel seen, heard, and loved. Yes, she whispers, her voice full of wonder and joy. Yes, I will marry you. Richard smiles, relief and happiness flooding his features as he slides the ring onto her finger. The garden around them seems to glow with newfound warmth, and Clara feels a deep sense of peace settle in her heart. In that moment, she knows that everything has changed forever. They embrace, the world fading around them, leaving only the two of them standing together under the stars, knowing that their journey together has only just begun. Months pass, and Clara and Richard's life together continues to unfold in ways they never expected. Their wedding is small but filled with love, held in the garden where Clara had her first art show, surrounded by friends who had come to admire her work and the man she had come to love. Richard's company continues to thrive, but he no longer spends his days locked in an office or holed up in meetings. He spends his time with Clara, helping her organize her first solo exhibition, taking her on trips to galleries, and most importantly, making sure she knows how much she means to him. Clara, for her part, blossoms in ways she had never thought possible. She's no longer just a maid, no longer just a woman struggling to survive. She's an artist, a wife, a partner in every sense of the word. But life, as always, isn't without its challenges. As they move into their new home, a beautiful townhouse just outside the city, Clara finds herself wondering if she truly deserves everything that has come her way. She spent so many years believing she was meant to struggle that it almost feels like a dream to be surrounded by so much love, so much beauty. One evening, as they sit together on the couch, a soft rain tapping at the windows, Clara turns to Richard with a quiet question in her eyes. Richard, she begins, her voice hesitant, do you ever feel like you don't deserve all of this? Richard looks at her, his brow furrowed in concern. What do you mean? He asks gently. Clara sighs, her fingers twisting the edge of her sweater. I don't know, she says, her voice barely above a whisper. Sometimes I wonder if I'm truly worthy of everything. The house, the art show, you. I've spent so long just trying to survive that I never thought I could have a life like this. Richard reaches over and takes her hand, his grip warm and reassuring. Clara, listen to me, he says, his voice steady. You are worthy of everything. You have always been worthy. You've given so much to the world, even when you had nothing. You've helped me find my way back to life, and you've done it with kindness, with love, with a heart that refuses to give up. You deserve this happiness, this life, and you deserve me. Don't ever doubt that. Clara's eyes fill with tears as she listens to him, and for the first time in a long time she feels a weight lift from her chest. It's not just his words, it's the way he looks at her, the way he's always been there for her, even when she felt like she didn't deserve his love. He's right, she realizes. She does deserve this. She deserves everything she's worked for, everything they've built together, and she will never take it for granted. The days continue to pass, each one filled with laughter, love, and the occasional moment of doubt that Clara knows she can overcome with Richard by her side. They travel together, see the world, and share their dreams. And through it all, they learn what it truly means to love and to be loved, to give and to receive. One evening, after they return from a trip to Paris, Clara stands in front of her easel in the studio, a painting in progress in front of her. Richard stands at the door, watching her with a proud smile. "What are you thinking about?" he asks softly. Clara glances over her shoulder at him, her smile warm. "I'm thinking about how lucky I am," she says, her voice full of contentment. "Lucky to have found someone like you. Lucky to have found myself again." Richard walks over and wraps his arms around her, his chin resting on her shoulder. "We're both lucky," he says, his voice low and sincere. "Lucky to have each other." They stand there for a long moment, the silence between them comfortable, filled with the kind of love that needs no words. Clara knows that no matter what happens in the future, no matter the challenges they may face, they will always have each other, and that's all she truly needs. As they move forward, hand in hand, Clara realizes that her life is no longer defined by the struggle, by the poverty, by the isolation she once felt. It is defined by love, by the beautiful life she has built with Richard, and by the art she creates from the heart. And with each new day, she is reminded that she has found the greatest gift of all, someone to share her life with. Someone who loves her not just for what she's accomplished, but for who she is. She has found her place in the world, and it is exactly where she was meant to be. As the years pass, Clara and Richard's life together only grows richer, not in wealth, but in the depth of their love and the life they've built side by side. Their home is no longer just a place to live, it is a sanctuary, filled with warmth, laughter, and the kind of peace they never thought possible. Clara's art continues to evolve, and with Richard's unwavering support, her work begins to receive recognition not only from collectors but from fellow artists who see her for the true talent she is. She has become the artist she always dreamed of being, but more importantly, she has found herself no longer defined by her past, but by the love and courage that now define her future. Richard, too, has found new purpose. Though his business empire continues to thrive, his focus is no longer solely on the bottom line. Instead, he dedicates more of his time to supporting Clara, to building the kind of life they both deserve, free from the weight of the past. One evening, as they sit together on the balcony of their home overlooking the city, the soft hum of the evening wind in the background, Richard turns to Clara, his expression serious yet filled with warmth. "Clara," he begins, his voice low and steady. "I've been thinking a lot about everything we've been through. How far we've come." Clara smiles softly, reaching for his hand. "I know what you mean. It feels like a lifetime ago when I was just trying to survive." Richard shakes his head, his eyes filled with tenderness. "You've never just survived, Clara. You've thrived. You've taught me more about living than anyone ever could." Clara's heart swells with emotion as she looks at him. "You've changed my life too, Richard. You gave me a chance when no one else would. You helped me believe in myself again." Richard's smile widens, and he pulls her into a gentle embrace, holding her close as the city lights flicker below. The love between them is palpable, like an unspoken promise that no matter what challenges lie ahead, they will face them together. As the years pass, they continue to travel, see the world, and share experiences that enrich their bond. They visit art galleries in Paris, take spontaneous road trips through the countryside, and enjoy quiet evenings at home with nothing but each other's company. Yet, as time goes on, the one thing they had not discussed, the thing neither of them dared to bring up, is the thought of starting a family. Clara has always been hesitant about having children, unsure if she is ready for the responsibility. Richard, on the other hand, has always dreamed of having a child to carry on his legacy, someone to share his love with outside of the world of business and wealth. One night, after a particularly exhausting but joyful day spent with friends at an art exhibition, Richard broaches the subject. As they lie in bed together, the gentle sound of the wind rustling outside, he turns to Clara with a quiet question. "Clara, have you ever thought about having children?" Clara stirs in the dark, her mind racing. She had always been hesitant to even entertain the idea. Her past had been filled with struggles, and she had never felt ready to bring a child into the world. But here, with Richard, things were different. "I've thought about it," she says, her voice soft. "But I don't know if I'm ready. I've spent so much of my life focused on survival, on just making it through. I don't know if I can do it all over again this time for someone else." Richard's hand finds hers, squeezing gently. "You've already done it, Clara. You've already proven that you can love, care, and give of yourself in ways most people never do. I know you're scared, but I believe in you. And I believe in us." Clara looks at him, her heart beating faster. She has never felt more certain of anything in her life. She knows that with Richard by her side, she can do anything. "I'm scared," she admits quietly, But I want to try. I want to build a family with you, Richard. I want to give our love a new life." Richard's smile is full of warmth and love. And as he kisses her forehead, he whispers, "We'll do it together. Just like we always have." The next few months pass in a whirlwind of excitement, preparation, and the kind of joy that only comes from new beginnings. Clara and Richard move forward with their decision to start a family, and they take every step together, hand in hand. And when the time comes for Clara to hold their first child in her arms, she looks down at the tiny, perfect face, and for the first time, feels a sense of completeness she never thought possible. She has everything she ever wanted: love, family, purpose. And with Richard by her side, she knows there is nothing they cannot overcome. Together, they have built a life they both cherish, a life full of love, happiness, and the promise of a future that is only just beginning. Months after the arrival of their first child, life for Clara and Richard has evolved in ways they had never imagined. Their home is now filled with the sounds of a baby's laughter, soft cooing, and the constant rhythm of daily life as new parents. Clara, once unsure about her ability to balance the life of an artist and a mother, finds herself thriving in both roles. She's painting more than ever, her art reflecting the deep love and joy she feels, while also capturing the quiet, intimate moments of her family's life. Richard, too, has found a new sense of purpose. His business still thrives, but his focus is no longer solely on building his empire. He spends his days with Clara and their child, finding joy in the simplicity of family life. One evening, after putting their child to bed, Clara and Richard find themselves sitting together in the living room, the soft glow of the fireplace casting shadows on the walls. It's the first moment of quiet they've had all day, and they savor it, sipping wine and talking about everything and nothing at all. "You know," Clara says, breaking the silence, "I never thought I'd have a life like this." Richard looks at her, his eyes warm. "What do you mean?" he asks softly. Clara smiles, her gaze drifting to the family photos on the mantel, her heart full. "I just never thought I'd have everything I've always wanted: a family, a career I'm proud of, you." Richard's heart swells as he reaches for her hand, holding it gently in his. "Clara, you've worked for everything you have. You've fought for it and you've earned it. I'm proud of you." She smiles, her fingers brushing against his. "And I'm proud of us," she says quietly. The words hang in the air, filled with meaning. They've both come so far, and yet they still have so much more to look forward to. As the fire flickers, Clara leans against Richard, her head resting on his shoulder. For the first time in a long while, she feels completely at peace. The future feels bright, full of possibility, and she knows that whatever comes their way, they will face it together, just as they always have. Time passes quickly, and soon their child is old enough to walk and talk, bringing even more joy and laughter into their lives. They take family vacations, explore new places, and continue to build the kind of life they both dreamed of, one filled with love, happiness, and the occasional challenge. But no matter what, they are always there for each other. One day, as they walk through the park with their child in tow, Richard turns to Clara, his expression serious yet filled with love. "Clara," he begins, "I've been thinking a lot about how far we've come and how much we've built together. I just want you to know that I will always be here for you, no matter what. I will always support you, love you, and stand by you, just as you've done for me." Clara's heart skips a beat as she looks at him, her eyes full of emotion. "Richard," she says, her voice thick with feeling, "I don't need anything more than you. You've given me everything I could ever want, and more. I'm the luckiest woman in the world to have you by my side." Richard smiles, his hand resting gently on her back as they continue walking through the park, the sun setting behind them. The world around them seems to fade away, leaving only the three of them together, happy and in love. They may have faced challenges along the way, but those challenges have only made their bond stronger, their love deeper, and their commitment to each other unbreakable. As the years continue to pass, Clara and Richard know that they will continue to grow together, building the life they both deserve, one step at a time. And when they look back on all they have accomplished, they will know that it was all worth it because they had each other. Together, they have found the greatest treasure of all: love that never fades, a family that thrives, and a life that is richer than anything they could have ever imagined. As the years continue to pass, Clara and Richard's lives grow even richer with each new chapter. Their child, now 5, brings a whole new level of joy and chaos to their home, filling the rooms with laughter, playful footsteps, and the innocent joy of childhood. They watch as their little one begins to discover the world, asking endless questions. and getting into mischief with that infectious giggle that makes everything seem right. It's in these small moments, helping with homework, playing in the backyard, making pancakes on lazy Sunday mornings, that Clara realizes just how far they've come. Looking at Richard, she often marvels at how much their love has evolved. From a cold, empty mansion to a warm, lively home filled with love and laughter, they've created a life that neither of them ever imagined. Yet, as their family grows and flourishes, so do the responsibilities and challenges that come with it. Richard's company, though still successful, demands more of his time as it expands internationally. Clara's art career continues to rise, with new exhibitions and clients. But the balance between her family and her work becomes trickier to maintain. One evening, after putting their child to bed, Clara and Richard find themselves sitting at the kitchen table, each holding a cup of tea. The quiet hum of the house around them is soothing, but there's a tension in the air, a feeling that something needs to change. Richard looks at Clara, his expression thoughtful. "Clara," he begins, "I've been thinking about how much things have changed lately. You've been working so hard with your art, and I've been traveling more with the company. I don't want you to feel like we're losing touch with each other. You, me, our family, we're the most important thing in my life, and I want to make sure we're still building something together." Clara places her cup down, her eyes meeting his. "I know what you mean," she says softly. "It's been hard to keep everything in balance. I don't want to lose what we have, Richard. You, our family, our life, it means everything to me." Richard nods, his hand reaching across the table to hold hers. "We'll figure it out," he says with a smile. "Maybe it's time for both of us to slow down a little, spend more time with the people who matter most. We've built an incredible life, and now it's time to enjoy it fully." Clara's heart swells with love for him. She has always known that Richard would be the kind of partner who would never leave her behind, who would always put family first. They've weathered so many storms together, and now, with a family of their own, they're ready to create new memories. Over the next few months, they make small but significant changes. Richard cuts back on his travel, dedicating more time to the family and his personal life. Clara, too, decides to take a step back from her hectic schedule to focus more on her family and her own well-being. They start taking weekends off to explore the world around them, to show their child the beauty of nature and the simple pleasures of life. They visit parks, go on bike rides, and even take a trip to the beach for the first time as a family. It's these moments, these quiet times together, that remind them of what truly matters. As they sit together on the beach, watching the waves roll in, Clara leans her head on Richard's shoulder, feeling a deep sense of contentment. Their child is playing in the sand, laughing as the waves splash around their feet, and for a moment, the world feels perfect. "We're doing all right, aren't we?" Clara asks softly, her voice full of emotion. Richard smiles, his arm around her. "We're more than all right," he replies, kissing the top of her head. "We've built something beautiful here, and no matter what comes next, we'll face it together." Time continues to pass, and their love only deepens. With each passing year, they discover new aspects of themselves and each other, growing together in ways they never imagined. Their child, now old enough to understand the importance of family, joins them in their adventures, and they continue to build a life full of love, laughter, and cherished memories. As they reflect on all they have accomplished, Clara and Richard know that they have created a life that is truly their own, one filled with love, happiness, and the kind of connection that never fades. And as they sit together, watching the sunset on another beautiful evening, they know that whatever the future holds, they will always have each other to face it with. Together, they have found the greatest treasure of all, a love that grows stronger with each passing day, and a family that will carry them through whatever comes next. Years pass gently, and time becomes the quiet proof of everything Clara and Richard built together. Their once small home has now become a warm, welcoming place filled with memories, laughter, and art. The walls that were once bare are now covered with Clara's painting scenes of their travels, the places they loved, and portraits of their growing family. Their child, now older, moves through the house with the same curious energy Clara once had, asking endless questions, filling every room with light. Richard, though older and slower now, still carries that steady calm in his voice, the same tone that once soothed Clara through storms of doubt. He spends most mornings sitting by the garden window, reading the newspaper or watching the birds, while Clara paints by the sunlight that streams in through the glass. Every now and then she looks up and catches him watching her, his smile soft and full of love. One evening, as the sun begins to set, painting the sky in orange and lavender, Clara sets down her brush and walks over to Richard. "Do you remember the first time I asked you to have dinner with me?" she says with a playful smile. Richard looks up, a laugh rumbling in his chest. "How could I forget?" he says. "You walked into that quiet mansion and changed my life forever." Clara laughs softly, her eyes glistening with the memory. "I was terrified," she admits. "I thought you were going to fire me." "Fire you?" he repeats, shaking his head. "You saved me. I had everything money could buy, but I had forgotten what it meant to feel human. That one question brought me back to life." They sit together in the fading light, and the silence between them is full of everything they have lived through, every storm they have faced, and every joy they have shared. Clara leans her head on his shoulder, feeling the steady rhythm of his heart. "I still remember that night," she whispers. "You looked so lonely, sitting there with one candle lit. I thought no one should have to eat alone on Christmas." Richard's hand finds hers, warm and sure. "You were right," he says. "And because of that moment, I've never had to eat alone again." The next morning, Clara wakes early and walks into the garden, the air crisp and cool. She sits by the candle holder that once stood in that grand dining room years ago. It now sits outside among the flowers, the two candles still side by side, both burned down halfway. She lights them carefully, watching the flames flicker to life, dancing together in the morning light. Richard walks out behind her, wrapping a shawl over her shoulders. "Still lighting those candles?" he teases gently. Clara smiles. "Always," she says softly. "They remind me that light is only beautiful when it's shared." Their child runs out into the garden, laughter echoing through the morning air. "Mom, Dad, come look!" There's a rainbow. Clara and Richard exchange a glance, smiling, then follow their child toward the garden's edge. And there, stretching across the sky, is a perfect rainbow, a sign, a reminder that life, like love, is a spectrum of colors, moments, and miracles that come together to form something extraordinary. Richard slips his arm around Clara's waist, his voice low. "Do you ever think about how different life would have been if you hadn't spoken to me that night?" Clara looks up at him, her eyes shining. "I don't think about what might have been," she says. "I think about what is. And this, Richard, this is everything I ever dreamed of." He smiles, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "Then I suppose we did something right." As the sun climbs higher, their laughter mingles with their child's, and the three of them stand together beneath the rainbow, surrounded by the life they built, one born from kindness, sustained by love, and made eternal by the promise they made to never let each other walk alone. Years later, people will look at Clara's paintings and see beauty, emotion, and light. But for her, each stroke of color will always be a memory, a moment of love, a reminder of how far they came from that cold Christmas night when she asked one simple question that changed everything. "Would you like to have dinner with us?" And from that one act of kindness, a life full of love was born, a story that would never truly end.